Cade Cunningham is about to win MVP, and it has nothing to do with being the best player in the league. The MVP race didn't flip because someone elevated their game. It flipped because a rule quietly decided who was even allowed to compete. There's now a 65 game minimum for MVP eligibility, and that rule is doing more damage to this race than any missed shot or bad night ever could. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, even Luka Doncic, none of them fell off. None of them got exposed. They're just bleeding games on the calendar, and that's the difference between MVP favorite and flat out ineligible. So now MVP doesn't mean most dominant player. It doesn't mean best season. It means who didn't miss too many nights. And that's where Cade Cunningham enters the picture. Not by outplaying SGA, Luka, or Jokic, but by staying eligible while the entire top of the race gets wiped out. So this isn't really about Cade at all. It's about how an MVP race featuring 3 generational players quietly turned into a technicality, and what that says about the award going forward. Let's break down the actual numbers this season so far, and why they matter. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is putting up roughly 32 points, 6 assists, and 4 to 5 rebounds a game, while leading one of the best records in the league. Nikola Jokic continues his rare triple-double magic, around 29 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists per game. Something only a handful of players in history have done consistently. Luka Doncic is nearly averaging a 32-point triple-double, 32 points, 8 to 9 assists, and rebounds a game. Meanwhile, Cade Cunningham is averaging around 25 points per night and nearly a 10 assists per game, with Detroit leading the East overall. Yes, these are MVP caliber numbers all around. Put these numbers any other year, they're winning that MVP trophy, regardless. So here's where things get weird. To officially be eligible for MVP, you now must play at least 65 games, no exceptions. If you don't hit that, your season doesn't count for awards. That means someone like SGA or Luka, who have missed time due to injury, could technically lose candidacy, even with insane numbers. Jokic also missed significant time earlier in the year and is still battling with an injury, so he's walking a tightrope just to hit the cutoff. So look at what this actually does to the MVP race. Instead of being about who's playing the best basketball this year, it becomes who stayed healthiest. Suddenly, a guy like SGA, arguably the best scorer in the league, might be disqualified just because he missed a few games. A historic triple-double guy like Jokic could be ineligible not because he cooled off, but because he's missed too many nights. Luka's monster season, who's also in the lead for the scoring title, might not count if the Lakers manage his minutes or he picks up another minor injury. This rule elevates availability over dominance. And that's why someone like Cade now has a path that was basically impossible in previous MVP races. It's crazy that all 3 of these legendary seasons are about to go unnoticed due to injuries. If you're enjoying this breakdown of the chaos, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our analysis when the playoffs actually start. But here's the part that flips the script. Cade isn't suddenly outscoring Jokic or passing SGA in efficiency. He isn't doing something no one else can do. What's happening is much more technical. It's about the formula the NBA decided to stick to on the MVP ballot. And that is why this award might go to someone who didn't actually outplay the other guys, just outplayed them on a calendar schedule. So at this point, you almost have to stop and ask the uncomfortable question. Does MVP even mean what we think it means anymore? Because if the best players in the league can dominate for 6 straight months and still be disqualified on a technicality, then what exactly are we rewarding? Is it greatness or is it compliance? Historically, MVP was simple. It went to the guy who bent the league around him. The player every team game planned for, the one carrying offenses, warping defenses, dragging rosters further than they had any business going. That's how legends were built. That's how MVPs became part of basketball history. But now, the definition has quietly changed. You can be the most dominant offensive force in basketball, like Nikola Jokic. You can be the most unstoppable scorer, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You can be carrying entire offenses on your back every night, like Luka Doncic. And none of that matters if the calendar says you missed too many games. At that point, MVP isn't about impact, it's about attendance. And this is where Cade Cunningham gets pulled into a conversation he didn't even ask to be a part of. Because Cade didn't change the rules, he didn't vote himself into contention, he just happened to be eligible when the usual MVP standards disappeared. So the debate isn't is Cade good, the debate is why eligibility suddenly outweighs dominance. And if MVP is no longer about being the best player in basketball, if it's about surviving a checklist instead of defining a season, then the real question becomes this: what does winning MVP actually say about a player anymore? And that's where this entire conversation starts to unravel. To be clear, controversial MVPs aren't new. The award has always been shaped by narratives, timing, and voter fatigue. We've seen it before, and every time, the meaning of MVP quietly shifts. Take Russell Westbrook in 2017, a historic triple-double season, incredible individually, but critics still argue team success was sacrificed for numbers. Or Steve Nash winning over Kobe and Shaq. Efficiency and system value beat raw dominance, and fans never fully agreed with it. Joel Embiid versus Nikola Jokic turned into a narrative tug-of-war instead of a basketball discussion. The difference is, in all of those cases, the players were still eligible. They were judged on basketball. This year isn't controversial because voters chose the wrong guy. It's controversial because some of the best seasons in the league don't even get judged. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, and Nikola Jokic. Their seasons don't lose because of production, they'll end up losing because of eligibility. That's not a debate, that's a filter. And here's the part nobody wants to admit. The 65-game rule doesn't fix MVP voting, it oversimplifies it. It turns a nuanced conversation about dominance, impact, and value just into a checklist. Miss too many games, conversation over. No context, no waiting, no room for reality. So when someone wins MVP under these conditions, even if they deserve praise, the award carries an asterisk in the court of public opinion. Not because the winner failed, but because the process did. And that's how an award meant to define greatness ends up redefining it instead. So let's be clear about one thing before this goes any further. This is not an anti-Cade Cunningham argument. Cade Cunningham didn't manipulate the rules, he didn't lobby voters, he didn't knock anyone else out of the race, he just showed up every night. Because when you strip away the noise, Cade does have a legitimate case. He's the engine of a team that's leading the Eastern Conference, he's the primary scorer, the primary playmaker, and the guy defenses load up for every single night. Team success still matters, even if we don't talk about it as much anymore. So if Cade ends up winning MVP, it's not because he stole anything. It's because the system removed everyone else. SGA won't lose to Cade, Luka won't lose to Cade, and Jokic won't lose to Cade. They lost to eligibility, and Cade happened to still be standing when all of the dust settled. That's why the frustration fans feel is real, but it's aimed at the wrong person. Cade is playing within the rules, he's leading a winning team, and he's carrying a massive workload. If anything, this season proves how hard it is to stay available while still being elite. So if Cade does end up winning MVP, it doesn't mean he's suddenly better than everyone else. It means the definition of MVP changed mid-season. And that's not on Cade Cunningham. That's on the system that decided availability should outweigh dominance. So before we wrap this up, ask yourself this. Would past legends even qualify for MVP under today's rules? Would Michael Jordan, playing through injuries, heavy minutes, and brutal travel schedules, always hit 65 games? Would Kobe Bryant, famous for grinding through pain, be punished for nights he physically couldn't go? Would Shaquille O'Neal, who dominated when healthy, be erased because of missed time? Even LeBron James, would his longevity era seasons survive this cutoff? Because if the answer is maybe not, then that tells you everything. MVP used to be a time capsule, a snapshot of who defined that season. Now, it risks becoming a reward for durability first, dominance second. And durability matters, but when it becomes the deciding factor, you stop honoring greatness and start enforcing attendance. So if Cade Cunningham wins MVP, don't call it stolen, don't call it fraudulent, and don't blame the player. Blame a system that changed the meaning of the award mid-race. Cade played by the rules, led a team at the top of the East, and he did stay available when others couldn't. But the bigger truth is this. The MVP didn't get worse because of Cade. It got worse because of the rule. And until that's addressed, this debate isn't going anywhere.